Hello, Colonel fans. Welcome to another edition of the Kicking It with the Colonels podcast. I'm Wes Chandler. So great to have you wherever, however you have us tuned in. We thank you for joining us here. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, watch us on YouTube, or via EKUsports.com. Today, we are kicking it with New York Jets quarterback Tim Boyle and former EKU quarterback as well. Tim, it's great to catch up with you, man. How are things your way?
Things are great. I appreciate you considering me having me on the show, and I'm glad this all worked out. But yeah, things are great. I'm living out my dream, and just signed a fresh contract with the Jets, and get reacquainted with some old teammates, which is wonderful. But I feel really good right now. I'm in a good headspace. Quality of life is high, and it's nice to be a little closer to home as well. So life's good right now.
First of all, I want to ask you about that contract with the Jets. First of all, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
it. And what was it the about the Jets that you liked the most?
Um, I think first and foremost, what you look for in the NFL is opportunity. I feel like I was valued pretty high from the Jets. Um, just with there are a lot of transition right now going on in the NFL, and quarterbacks are always bouncing around, and it's kind of tough to follow which quarterbacks and which team. So I saw the I think the Jets at one point only had two quarterbacks on their roster, and I think the whole rumor with Aaron was going to be there. So I knew they had three, and most teams going with four. So um, what draws me to the Jets, I think first and foremost is opportunity, but the fact that I'm close to home, I'm 2 hours away from my hometown. Both my sisters live in Manhattan. I mean, it makes sense. I'm around my people. I feel the love and support around me. But ultimately, I think what you look for in the NFL is opportunity. I think that's what drew me to the Jets. But I also knew they had an incredible culture, and I know they're trying to do something special. And obviously, going out and getting Aaron Rodgers is a huge piece of that, and trying to win right now. So I think it's wonderful to be back around him. It's nice to be, like I said, back around home, and I'm just very comfortable with the Jets right now, which is wonderful. It's only been a week and a half into it, and I feel very at home.
There's several people from your Green Bay days that are a
Hmm.
part of the Jets now. Your former OC, you mentioned Aaron as well. So that's got
Yeah.
to be comforting a little bit too.
It's been wonderful. Whenever you go to a new organization, I've been bouncing around the past few years. Obviously, I was started in Green Bay, went to Detroit, went to Chicago last year, and now I went to Jets. Whenever you go to a new organization, it's very challenging. It's like switching high schools, middle of your sophomore year. It's like a whole nother set of faces, a whole nother culture. So that's the challenging part is learning people's names, understanding who people are, especially as a quarterback. You kind of have to wheel and deal and be super active and social with people and build those relationships. But to answer your question, having a familiar face like Nathaniel Hackett, Alan Lazard, Adam Pankey, played with him in Green Bay. Nick, our fullback, I played with him in Detroit. Obviously, Aaron. It just makes it so much more comfortable. Whenever you see a familiar face, there's a level of comfort that kind of comes over you, and it's like we haven't skipped a beat, which has been wonderful. I saw Aaron today for the first time in a while, and it's like nothing. We picked up right where we left off, which is the cool part.
Are you,
Um, but it's definitely nice to see some familiar faces and kind of relight those friendships, which has been wonderful the past week and a half.
are you just happy to get out of the NFC North?
It was crazy. They had I just missed the Vikings.
Right.
I was making my rounds in the NFC North, but yes, I'm happy to be out of it. It's a wonderful division. I'm glad I was in it. It's definitely tough neck, hand in the dirt football. It's cold Midwest football, and
Mhm.
I loved it. But yeah, I'm happy for a fresh start. To be in a system that I know from the Green Bay days, and I know Coach Hackett's going to have his kind of cool little special twists on the offense, but looking forward to diving back in and having some fun with my guys.
It's the black and blue division for a reason.
100%. It's tough, especially Lambeau, December, January. I mean, Soldier Field. I played a couple of games. It's negative degrees. It's uh it's tough football, and I'm glad I was kind of brought up in the NFL in that division because it's true Midwest. Fans are going crazy, cold, really fun, hostile environments. So it's been a cool experience thus far.
What have you been up to this off season? Did you get a chance to kick back on the beach or go travel anywhere? Have a couple of cold drinks of your choice? What'd you able to
Yeah,
do this off
so
season?
my off season, most of the time I give myself a week right after the season, week and a half to travel. I give myself that. And then most of the time, middle of March, I do another trip as well. So this season, ended, and then I went to Paris and Amsterdam with a couple of my buddies from high school, which was wonderful. Obviously, just I've never traveled with guy friends before. It was just nice to just blow some steam and have some fun, have some conversations, and kind of reminisce about our past. And then I went to Dubai in March with my sisters. We try to do a sibling trip every year, just to maintain, the friendship and the make sure that we have time, just the three of us, no matter what our crazy schedules are like, making sure we make time for each other. So Paris, Amsterdam, Dubai were three amazing trips. But most of the time, I'm actually living in Manhattan in my off seasons. But this off season in particular, I really wanted, I needed to take the next step in my football career, and I think doing that, putting that kind of pressure on myself, because at the end of the day, I have to be real with myself, and I put myself in a position where it's now make it or break it. Like I have not played to my standard in the NFL, so I knew that this was going to be a big offseason for me. I had to go attack it physically, mentally, spiritually, throwing the ball. So I actually went down to Florida this past offseason, and I was down in the Fort Lauderdale area, and I was training with awesome trainers and quarterback coach, and able to throw the ball a lot. So I feel like I had a really productive offseason, which was awesome for me. So I feel like I'm in a really good physical and mental state right now, where I feel like I can enter a new team with a new kind of freshened up skill set and put my best foot forward.
Ready to go from there. That's awesome, man. I'm glad
Ready
to
to
hear
go.
all that. So
Thank
are
you.
all the I know you talked about like all your trips. What's been your favorite trip that you've been on so far?
Ooh, that's a wonderful question. My sisters and I did Thailand right before COVID struck. So we went out there for about 10 days, and we had a wonderful trip. And we caught the last flight back to the USA, uh, Emirates from Dubai, before everything kind of shut down. So it was kind of a race to get back to the States, but that trip was memorable. Just experiencing that culture, and obviously very fortunate to be able to have that 3 month period where I really don't have anything to do other than train, and I have to stay on top of my stuff, and it's long, but it gives me time to travel, and I think that's, as the older I get, the more I appreciate culturing myself, and seeing different areas of the world, and like I said, culturing myself. So I think Thailand definitely sticks out, and this past trip to Dubai with my sisters was pretty special as well. It's a pretty unique place, Dubai is.
Yeah, it really gives you a unique perspective, not only of other people's cultures and just how the world represents. So growing up, did you ever play any other sports other than
Yeah,
football?
I grew up playing basketball, baseball, and football. Really loved basketball, really loved baseball, really loved football. I think I fell in love with football first. It was kind of my first love. Being a small town kid from Connecticut, you're torn between the Jets and the Giants and the Patriots. And I was a huge Tom Brady Patriots fan. My mom and her family's from Massachusetts, so I grew up, early 2000s when Tom Brady was starting to win Super Bowls, and it kind of just fueled my fire for football. It was a wonderful time to be a Patriots fan, and I think that's kind of why I followed football. But yeah, I played baseball and basketball, played a little bit of golf with my dad, tried soccer, didn't really work out. But yeah, I think it's critical to play a lot of sports, especially as a young kid. I think it helps with hand-eye coordination. It helps you deal with adversity, how to win, how to lose. I mean, there's a lot of different things that I think are beneficial playing sports at a young age, and I'm glad that my parents kind of put me into those sports, and I enjoyed it, and I have a wonderful following. I follow baseball, I follow basketball, and the older I've gotten, I really enjoy playing golf now, and I watch a lot of golf. So it's the more sports you can do. Obviously, I'm a professional in football, but I really do appreciate the work that goes into it from all athletes' standpoint.
So I guess now the biggest question you face is, are you a Yankees or are you a Mets guy now?
I'm a Yankees fan. I have been since I was a little kid. So and people always get after me when I say that, because I was a Patriots fan and I was a Yankees fan. My answer to that, my mom's from Massachusetts, my dad's from Northern Jersey, so
Mhm.
he always grew up a Yankees fan. And again, I was growing up, it was Derek Jeter, Jorge Posada, Giambi,
Yeah, the core four.
Matsui, Damon. Yeah, I mean, Robinson Cano
Yeah.
at second base. I mean, it was just a wonderful group of people, and they were winning and talented. And so, yeah, I'm a Yankees fan. Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I assume you're like most kids. You grew up probably in the backyards playing Nerf football, whatever it was. I assumed you dreamed of one day playing at the highest level, correct?
Yeah, I think every little kid's dream. And that's the cool part. as I get to reflect as a 28-year-old now, I'm happy with the fact that there was obviously a time in my life when I was a little kid where I was like, hey, I really love football. I would love to be a professional athlete and play football. And I made my mind up right then and there. And like I said, I can't put my finger on when, but I'm grateful for the fact that I've worked as hard as I've worked, and I've pushed myself as hard as I pushed. And yeah, I'm exactly where I want to be right now. I'm living out my dream. And I mean, I can vividly remember telling people, they ask me, what do you want to do when you're older? And astronaut or a firefighter. And I said, I want to play in the NFL. And I mean, most of the time you get laughs. And not that I'm petty and I get to laugh at them now, but it's like, yeah, I did it.
Right.
And it's a wonderful feeling knowing that I've accomplished something in my life that I've wanted to accomplish. I know there's a lot more in my life that I have to offer, and football is just a little part of me, and it's my little chapter right now. But I'm going to play this game for as long as I can until someone yanks me off that field and says you can't play anymore. So it's my first love. I love it. But yeah, it's been a wonderful experience. I'm right where I want to be, and definitely knew from a young age I wanted to play in the NFL.
Was there ever a backup plan, or did you ever entertain that?
That's a great question too. I vividly remember too, coming out of college, coming out of EKU, I was training for pre-draft, so I didn't go to the combine, but I had a pro day at Eastern Kentucky, and I had a conversation with my parents because it was up in the air. I really didn't know if I was going to get picked up or not. I knew I was talented enough. I knew I didn't play well enough in college to get drafted, but like I knew I had the talent. I was big enough, and I believed in myself. I did. But I had this conversation with my parents, and I was like, do I look for jobs? Do I get a resume going, or do I just like dive into football and just like do this? And I can remember my mom so quick. She's like, you get a chance to live out your dream. You put all your eggs in one basket right now, and whenever it's done, if I didn't get picked up, then you deal with that down the road. But right now, I have a small window to take advantage of the thing that I've wanted to do since I was a little kid, and all of my eggs are in one basket. So to answer your question, for probably a week and a half, there was a plan B, but it was absolutely squashed once my parents said that. And it was all my eggs are in this basket right now because when I look back on my life, if I even thought about a plan B while I was doing this, I'm wasting energy that should be going towards football and trying to extend my career. So whenever that next chapter happens for me, I'll be ready to go with an open heart and a smile on my face. But for right now, I'm living out my dream.
When, for most kids, that dream of playing at the highest level eventually fades out. When did it for you become more of a reality? Was there a defining moment in your career? Maybe it was at the pro day or the combine. When were you able to realize that playing at the highest level was a very real possibility?
Yeah, so it's a great question because it was actually while I was at Eastern. I went with a couple of teammates to a Thursday night game. It was in Cincinnati, and the Texans were playing the Bengals in Cincinnati. And I remember I was 23 years old. I was the starting quarterback for Eastern. And I remember watching the game as a quarterback and like trying to see the defense. And I was like I've watched football in real life. Like I watched football on TV, but like when you're actually there and you get to see how guys are and how they're moving and like the coverage, I was like, wait, I can play quarterback in this league. So I remember there, I was like, I can do this. So I kind of like reinvigorated my like, okay, like all I need is an opportunity at the end of the day. Like I can't control anything else other than the fact that like once I get an opportunity, it's now up to me. And thankfully, the Packers gave me an opportunity after my pro day. I think my pro day really helped me out at Eastern. I put up some really good numbers. I ran well. I threw well, and it got me on a couple of radars. And like I said, an opportunity was all I needed, and the Packers took a chance on me, and I forced their hand to keep me, thankfully, and I'm glad. But yeah, it's been a pretty cool journey. But I think that Thursday night game when I was at Eastern,
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like I could do this. Like I'm big enough. I have a strong enough arm. And yeah, here I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Your 40 was like 4.7, something like that. If I
I ran
remember
a four seven
correctly.
five, which
I
which
can't
is
drive that quick in 40 yards.
4.75 for me was very, very
Yeah.
fast. And I know guys are running 4.2s and 4.3s right now. And I'm not even close to touching those guys, but I remember training and I was running the 4.8s, low 4.9s,
Yeah.
maybe low 4.8s. And then you show up for pro day and your adrenaline's pumping and you're
Uh,
outside and people are watching. And apparently I got a nice little gust of wind behind me and it pushed me to 4.75. Yeah.
that's awesome. So you're a
Yeah.
Connecticut boy. What was it like growing up in the Northeast for you?
I loved it. It's home for me. I love Connecticut. I love the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, but just New England in general, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont. It's just so beautiful. You get all four seasons, um, and it's just home for me. It's where family and friends are. It's where I'll always call home. And obviously, playing sports was a huge part of that. But honestly, going down to Kentucky was probably the best thing that happened for me because I stayed in state. I went to UConn for 3 years and transferred out to Eastern. And I was really able to spread my wings and grow up as a human being when I went to Eastern because, mom and dad aren't there anymore. I was a junior in college, but they were also 50 minutes away. Like if I needed anything, like I knew I had my parents or my
Right.
family. But I'm now in Richmond, Kentucky, and I got to figure it out by myself. So I feel like I really grew up when I went to Eastern, and I think it makes it so much sweeter now that I get to go home. Whenever I do go home, it feels like home
Hmm.
because I've been to so many different areas of the country. I lived in Florida, Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, and now I'm a little bit closer to home. But yes, Connecticut holds a special place in my heart. It always will, and I love going home. I love seeing my people, and trying to give back to my community has been a big part of my journey right now of understanding my platform and trying to influence younger people to try to follow their dreams as well.
I'm making my first trip up to New York, that New York Boston area, all that
Yeah.
this summer. Any restaurants I should hit up or any recommendations?
Are you going to New York or Boston? Which one?
Both.
Both.
Yes.
Boston, you need to go to the North End. There are a bunch of restaurants. Bricko is really good.
Yeah.
New York, my favorite place in New York is the West Village. I think it's super quaint, not a lot of high rises, very quiet. It's still in Manhattan. It's still bustling, but it's more casual. It's a little swankier, but a lot of good
Mhm.
food. Manhattan is probably the coolest place ever because everything is so condensed, and every restaurant is like great food. So it's
Right.
hard for me to put like a recommendation for New York City on your
Right.
plate. Um, my recommendation for you is to try to go see a Broadway show. I'm a huge
Yeah.
theater nerd. I love going to see Broadway shows. I'm actually seeing Wicked on Saturday
Oh,
with a
very
couple
cool.
friends. And there's a nice Italian spot called Carmine's right in Times Square. It's a
Okay.
really nice family style Italian joint. I think you would really like it.
Yeah, I already purchased Hamilton tickets.
You're
So
going to love
yeah,
Hamilton.
yeah,
You're going to love
yeah.
it.
That's
Good.
awesome.
I love it.
So for you now, let's talk about your high school days. We
Yeah.
talked about Connecticut, three state championships. Do you know where
Hmm.
the rings are still from
I
that
do.
those
That
state titles?
they're in my safe. Yeah, they travel with me everywhere I go. It's a nice reminder. I don't look at them often, but it's a nice reminder. It's kind of funny, it's a manly sport, and you win a championship and you get a piece of jewelry. I
Got to
think it's
show
super
off that
funny.
ring, man.
But yeah, I really haven't had a lot of opportunities to wear it and show it off.
Does it still
Whenever I
fit?
go, they still fit. Yeah, same size fingers, but thankfully, yeah. But yeah, Xavier. My time at Xavier High School in Connecticut was special, man. It was really cool to be a part of a really good team with good players, good coaches, and I was a product of that. By no means was I the standout player. I just had wonderful people around me and help facilitate the greatness. But yeah, we won a bunch of games. We won a bunch of championships, and I'm grateful for those times. And some of my best friends still today are my friends from that team in high school, and just a special time. You get to go back and reflect on those moments and the lessons that it taught you. I truly learned how to win in high school. It was like it's the mindset of what you need when you walk off the bus when it's time for a game, of like the feeling, the subconscious feeling of like I'm ready to do this, like let's go whoop some ass. And I think that's what kind of my high school career taught me, of like it's time to expect to win now. Like you put in the work and the expectation is to win every week. So I think that was very cool. But yeah, my time at Xavier was special, and I hold those memories very close to my heart.
Yeah, definitely. And to the casual fan, something like that doesn't seem like learning how to win. That doesn't seem like that should be something that should be a factor, really. But it does take a special type of player because you need to learn how to win, but not only win some close games every now and then.
Of course, and I think football is just so fluid. You don't really know what's going to happen. But if you go in with a defeated mindset, or you think you're kind of teetering between, hey, are we ready? You have no chance.
Right.
So I think like the confidence you feel of putting in a good week's work of preparation, that you can go out there and play confidently. I think that's kind of what I mean by like teaching me how to win. Like we were riding so high on so many wins, and it's like you feel this momentum, you feel this energy behind us, this power of like teams are now afraid to play us. Like it's a wonderful feeling, and I
Yeah.
think that the team had that collective mindset. Um, but a part of the really good is my next career at UConn,
Mm.
lose a bunch of games, and I have to deal with losing.
Yeah.
So you kind of get that contrast of a bunch of games won and I'm feeling good, and now I'm playing really bad and we're losing a bunch of games. And how do you deal with the adversity? How do you try to remain up here with this mindset while you're dealing with the losing? So definitely a lot of ups and downs throughout my transition from high school to college, but I'm glad it happened the exact way it did.
Yeah. It happens
Yeah.
for a purpose. So just days before signing day, you were headed to Boston College.
Yeah, I
What changed
was.
your mind?
So I was committed to BC my whole high school, my whole junior, senior year. And I love Boston College. I think it's beautiful. Chestnut Hill up in Massachusetts. I took visits up there all the time. I was super close with the team, even, and the coaches. And then Coach Adazio came in right before signing day. So the staff that offered me a scholarship left. They got fired, and Coach Adazio came in and said, "Hey, you can come here. We're honoring your scholarship, but I just want you to know you're not really the style of quarterback that's going to fit this offense." So we had a couple of visits with the new staff at BC, and we kind of came to the conclusion that like I can reopen my recruitment, and decommit from Boston College. So, yeah, with a couple of weeks left of before signing day, obviously most schools still have their quarterbacks who have been signed. So there was kind of slim pickings when it came to like where I could go.
Mhm.
So Pittsburgh was in the running, UConn was in the running, and Oregon was in the running actually. And I could not wrap my head around going to Oregon for 4 or 5 years as a high school kid. And Pittsburgh didn't have a scholarship for me at the time, and I'd have to like wait a year. So I ended up going to UConn, and I actually never really wanted to go to UConn my whole recruiting process. Um, I was infatuated with BC. I loved them. I still do. It's a great school. But I ended up going to UConn. I stayed in state, and I kind of owned the fact that I'm an in-state kid, and I want to kind of change this program around. Like I felt that going into it of like I'm from 50 minutes away. I would love to be the starting quarterback here eventually and help us get to a bowl game and make this this program a better program. And yeah, that's kind of how it went down. It's kind of an interesting story, but
Right. Most definitely.
UConn was a fun time. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, but you learn a lot from it.
What was there ever a dream school for you? Like, I mentioned growing up, you dream of
Oh,
playing at the highest level as a kid. You got to go to college before you can go to the
yeah.
next level. Was there ever a dream school for you for college?
I think as a quarterback, Notre Dame, it's kind of a prestigious quarterback
Yeah.
school. And they actually ended up offering me my junior year, and a kid committed the same day. So I didn't really have an opportunity to even consider it. But Florida would have been really cool. Florida offered me, and I actually wanted to commit to Florida, but they were kind of dragging their feet with something. So that didn't end up. SEC is a whole nother ball game. Like it's just a whole nother ball game for recruitment. Um, Michigan would have been really cool. I've always wanted to go to Michigan as a little kid, and they never really were in the mix. And then obviously Alabama. If I got an offer from Alabama, I think any quarterback would be
Yeah.
hard pressed to tell you that they wouldn't want to go there. So not one school that like stands out, but I definitely had like a little list of
Yeah.
like this would be really cool to play.
So now you leave UConn, you enter the transfer portal. All these schools flock to you again. Basically, the recruiting process starts all over again in another sense. Why was Eastern Kentucky the spot where you ultimately landed?
So that's an interesting story, actually. I just told this one today to a few teammates because the whole draft, the whole transfer portal did not exist when I was in college. I had to, I had 3 years. I played 3 years. I played freshman, sophomore, junior year. So I still had my redshirt year and a year to play. So I thought the NCAA rules would allow me to transfer down a division and play right away because everyone did that. You transfer down, you can play right away. But there is a weird rule in the NCAA that says if you have 2 years to play one, so if you have 1 year and you still have your red shirt, we make you redshirt. And I didn't know that before I opened my recruiting process back up. So I transferred in the middle of the year. So it's like December, and I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to go to school in a few weeks. And there were probably 3 or 4 schools that were interested, and it's kind of a hustle. I'm trying to, my high school coach is reaching out. I got people reaching out, just like, is anyone interested? And Eastern Kentucky kind of out of nowhere kind of said that they were interested, and talked to a couple of their coaches. I was actually on a cruise with my family when I decided to go to Eastern. There was a couple of Sacred Heart, Wagner, a couple of schools in the Northeast that I was interested in transferring to because I thought I could play right away. And then right before I go to school, I find out about this rule that no matter where I would have gone, that I had to redshirt. So I show up at EKU and I'm like, damn, I'm gonna be a true senior and I have to redshirt. So I'm a 22-year-old, young
Right.
adult. I've already been through college. Like I understand what it's all about, and now I have to redshirt. Um, so it was a cool year for me while I redshirted. I learned a lot about football, a lot about my body. Like I got myself right to ready to go. But yeah, to answer your question, Eastern Kentucky kind of just came out of the woodworks. I talked to Coach Elder when he was still the special teams coordinator for the Tennessee Vols. So he was getting ready for his bowl game with Tennessee, knowing he was going to be the head coach of Eastern,
Right.
and he was talking to me on the phone. So it was interesting. He was still a Tennessee Vols coach, but he was going to be the head coach. So I'll never forget that conversation. But yeah, I did a lot of research online, trying to ask players, how they enjoyed it. I took a visit there and loved it, and they took care of me out there, and I felt like I was at home. And now I'm in Richmond, Kentucky, baby, and it was probably the coolest, best decision I ever made in my life. I met so many amazing people. I learned so much about football down there. The relationships stand out. Just the people in the athletic department, my teammates, other athletes on other teams, and even just the sorority fraternity life. It was just being from Connecticut. You're not really engulfed in Southern culture and the Southern way of doing things. And I think being down there for the 2 years I was down there was eye opening, number one, but a beautiful experience because now I can relate. Again, we talked about culturing, just being in another part of the country, living there and experiencing it. It allows you to understand things and be appreciative for things. And yeah, Kentucky was a wonderful decision, and I'm glad I ended up going down there. And I definitely missed the 859.
Are you able to keep up with the current team? Do you check scores
I
every
do.
now and then?
I do. It's been really fun watching Parker play. He's been I I was there when he was taking a visit, so I remember meeting him. I knew some of the guys, but the older I've gotten, the most of the people leave out of the program. So I don't really know anyone there anymore. I've talked to the head coach a few times, and we've remained friendly, and it's been wonderful. But as you know, Corey, a bunch of people in the athletic department, I stay in touch with, and I came back a few years ago, I think for the spring game. It was wonderful to see everyone, and I definitely look forward to doing that again because Eastern Kentucky is that's where I say I went to school. I graduated from there. I got my degree. I loved every second of it, and even though I had to redshirt, I wasn't playing football for a year. It was probably the best thing that happened for me. And I was just down in Kentucky, working out, trying to build relationships. I was playing a lot of golf. It was a really fun time, and I met a lot of really good people. And yeah, I'm very grateful to EKU. I really am. It was a wonderful experience.
What about Parker McKinney? I know you're usually often pretty busy on the weekends, especially during the season. But what is it about Parker that either watching him in person or video that relays that he is a elite quarterback like he is right now?
Yeah, he's been consistent, and whenever you play the quarterback position for a long time in college, you're bound to make mistakes. And what I've seen about Parker is that he doesn't. Most quarterbacks don't, and you try not to, but make the same mistake twice. And I think his consistency and the fact that he can also he's a really good passer, but he can put the ball down and run the rock too, I think is incredible. And I've haven't been around him a bunch, but I've only heard that he's a wonderful leader, and I obviously think that's a huge intangible, kind of trait that every quarterback needs. And I think hearing the fact that he's a wonderful leader and that he probably does it the right way makes me super happy because I think every quarterback of every program has to be that leader by example, but also saying things when things need to be said. And it's been fun to watch him play and put up the numbers he's put up. And I know he's going to continue his career, which is going to be fun for me to watch as well.
Now, the season you had here at EKU, you led the OVC in passing yards. What do you remember most about your year here playing?
What do I remember? Oh man, there are so many memories. If I can be completely blunt with you, I remember throwing a lot of interceptions, and that still really eats at me because. And I try to remember the good, but it just always seems to happen that the bad always creeps in,
Right.
right? I remember winning our first game. We started at Western, at UK,
Mhm.
both close games. But we felt like we were a really good team, and I think we played Tennessee Tech at home, and we won our first game at home, and it was electric. And I remember feeling like I'm a starting quarterback. I played a decent game. We won. We were at home. It was like that was the college experience I was looking for. Like I wanted there to be some positivity. Like I played well. We played well. We won. Let's go out, have fun. Like that whole positive college experience. And those are the memories I missed. Like that group of guys, that group of seniors, especially, and then juniors, the whole team. Really, I was close with really all of them. But just like a makeup of people, and that's the cool part about football. And
Right.
the same thing goes for the NFL. Is you meet so many different people from so many different walks of life, and you get to connect with people who come from so many different backgrounds, and that's what stands out about Eastern that year. I think the ups and the downs of that year, because we should have been a better team that year, and we just certain games we didn't play up to certain teams, and we played down to certain teams, and I think that was the frustrating part. But I think the culmination of that season and playing that last game at home, and we won that last game, and it was emotional for me because at that point I don't really know if my career is going to be extended or not. Obviously, I
Right.
wanted to, and I would have loved to play in the NFL, but at that point, it's like I could have just thrown my last touchdown. I could have just played my last football game. So it was very emotional for me, and all my guys, we were all kind of emotional that week, and it was just a powerful group of seniors, and I'm very grateful for that team and those coaching staffs too. It was super young. It was fun to go into the office every day and go into meetings and practice. It was a young, vibrant coaching staff that I miss very much, and Coach Elder and I have stayed in touch, and he's been wonderful. It's cool to see his kids now grow up, and he's a special man, and he's got a special heart. I'm grateful for him, taking a chance on me because you're investing 2 years in someone who's only going to give you 1 year. And I knew that some teams were not going to like that, but Coach Elder was wonderful about it. And I'm super grateful that I went to Eastern. I really am.
Now take me into your mindset. November 21st, 2021, your first NFL start.
Oof.
You realize your childhood dream is now right in front of you. What was your mind like on that day?
Yeah, it was kind of a blur, man. Like I was ready for the game, but I just came off IR. I broke
Right.
my thumb
Right.
or my throwing thumb earlier in preseason that year, and I was on IR for like 10 weeks. And they take me off IR and I start. So I'm like, whoa. I don't play football for 10 weeks and now I'm
Right.
starting a game. So it was like so fast. I was prepared and I was ready to go. But like you said, it's a childhood dream. And the second I got the news I was starting, told my whole family, and people were driving out to Cleveland, and I had a really good support staff there, which was wonderful. I got my family, my friends, some cousins, aunts, uncles. It was wonderful. And just to be able to say that I've started an NFL game is cool.
Right.
Um, but I feel like I have more to give. I feel like I have another. If I'm given another opportunity, I'll do better with it because ultimately, at the end of the day, football and the NFL in general is about production. If you don't produce, you're not going to have a job, and I need to find another way to get myself an opportunity and go out there and produce. But yeah, my experience in 21 was pretty special. Being able to start 3 games and the things you learn and the things like truly you learn in a game that you don't learn in practice. Like live bullets are flying. Like you're going really good players against really good players, and every play there's 50 things to think about, and it just the attention to detail, the time during the week. You have production meetings and you have media, and then you're talking with the head coach, and then you got to go have a 2 hour meeting with the offense coordinator, and then you got to go home and study, but still try to get 7 hours of sleep. So it's like, it's incredible how starting quarterbacks operate in the NFL because it's a lot every week. And I couldn't imagine having a family on top of that. And that's why I admire those wonderful quarterbacks who make it look so easy. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Mahomes, Josh Allen now. These young guys are starting to make a splash in the NFL, and they make it look so easy. And I know it's not easy, so that's why you appreciate it. But yeah, it was wonderful to be able to check that box of a childhood dream starting an NFL game. Um, but like I said, I look forward to my next start, and hopefully I get another one. And ultimately, it's about producing and going out and having fun and playing loose.
Absolutely, man. And you're such a story of perseverance, and I'm sure there's several times that you could have easily said, this may not work out for me. I'm just might as well just hang them up. What would be your biggest advice to a youngster trying to achieve their childhood dreams?
Yeah, it's a two-parter for me. I think first and foremost, I'll be very blunt. Like anyone can do anything. We set limitations and restrictions on ourselves. Like that is 100% a fact. We can do whatever we want to do in life if we work hard at it and you're disciplined. Um, like if you want to go play football, basketball, baseball, you want to be an athlete, like you can do what you want to do. Like that is a fact that I need you to hear because I was a small town kid from Connecticut, didn't think it'd be possible to play in the NFL. I always believed in myself and I worked at it and I made certain decisions that um, helped me boost that into my life. And I think the second part too is if you have a bad time or you're depressed in your sport or you're going through a slump, keep plugging through it because I've had my downs, I've had my ups, I've had more downs than ups. But if you just are able to sit with yourself and still believe in yourself and have self belief and love for yourself and be able to just assess what's going on, take a breath, regather yourself, and move forward as a better person. I think that's critical. I feel like a lot of people, especially in today's culture and society, get a little bit of adversity and they get in their own head and they kind of spiral out of control. But it's natural for everyone to go through ups and downs, especially in sports. But in life, it's being able to just like calmly deal with adversity, understand that there is not good without bad, and there is not bad without good. They come together. It's yin and yang. Um, and to just keep pushing forward. It's the beauty of life is that we get to follow our dreams. And I want as many young people as possible to hear this and be like,
Mhm.
I want to do this because
Right.
it makes me happy. Like I haven't worked a day in my life, and I'm 28 years
Right.
old. I haven't worked a day in my life,
Mhm.
and I worked a job in high school, and it was the worst job I ever had. But I play
Mhm.
football for a living.
Right.
It's the best job ever, and I'm so grateful for it. I really am.
Well, Tim, you're certainly one that all the youngsters can look up to. Just thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it, and can't wait to continue to follow your career, and can't wait to watch you out there in a Jets uniform, performing here when football season rolls around. Thank you so much for your time, Tim.
Wes, I appreciate you. It's been wonderful, and I
All right.
apologize again for my voice. The pollen's getting pretty good right now.
Allergies are a killer, man.
It's brutal, but I appreciate it. And Kearns by 90, baby.
Sounds good. We'll catch you later, Tim.
Yes, sir.
All right. Until then, until our next episode, we have been kicking it with Tim Boyle.